Hello all! Today I'll be weaving my own felt made from thrifted and secondhand yarn. This is a great way to use up small balls of wool yarn and create some unique fabric that can be used for so many projects. I hope you enjoy. My name is Took. I'm a disabled genderqueer weaver who's had life take odd turns, but who knows that even tattered and worn yarn still has value, and that tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. I weave exclusively with secondhand fibers, aided with adaptive warping, HR and OSHA cats, and a wonderful found family. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. First, a bit of an explanation on why I've developed this adaptive warping method. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which has cascaded into postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So for time's sake, know that I have joints that don't work, and if I shift positions too quickly, I get pre-syncope, or pre-fainting symptoms. All of this comes with chronic pain, so for a lot of reasons, a traditional warping board doesn't work for me, along with being really expensive and taking up a lot of space in my small studio. So I use an accordion coat rack as my warping board. It's nice and neat, it contracts into a smaller space, and I can adjust it as I need to. And I don't need to be up and down and all around and having tachycardia, racing heart, that stresses out my medical alert cat Penelope. She's not actually trained to be a tachycardia medical alert cat, but she is a calico and has a lot of fortitude and opinions about my heart rate that she is willing to manipulate me into sitting down to deal with. And worst case scenario, she is willing to just bite me until I sit down. And I'd rather not be bitten by an angry calico, so I tend to listen to her because 9 times out of 10 she is right, which is very annoying. With the warp threads sorted, I'm lifting up the loom to release the warping board from the loom, gathering the warp threads into one large bundle, and using the back of my neck to drape them over and keep them tidy and out of the way while I collapse the warping board. This loom is a 15-inch wide shocked cricket loom. It's a rigid heddle loom and I love it so much. It's birch, it's very sturdy, it can take a beating, but it's light enough that I can lift it even when I'm having a pain or fatigue day. It's also one of the cheapest looms in the market, averaging around $250 at the time of filming. I use terry cloth towels to cushion the warp threads. This helps prevent the finished weaving from being tighter at the ends and looser in the middle, creating a sort of sausage profile in the weaving. The way I warp has me cutting the warp loops at the end of winding the warp. This is what's easiest on my body. It won't work for everyone, and that's okay. This isn't a great angle, but I'm being careful to pay attention to how the warp threads are laying on the back bar of the loom, and the right-hand thread goes through the smaller hole in the rigid heddle reed. It's not critical, and some minor mistakes aren't the end of the world, but it does make it easier to keep the tension of the warp threads even across the entire weaving. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, some free ways to do that are to like, subscribe, or follow, and share. This applies to other small artists as well. It's a great way to let the social media algorithms know that this is content worth watching. If you'd like to support me financially, there's a Buy Me a Coffee linked below, which acts as sort of a tip jar. And also, now that there are so many of you absolutely fantastic and wonderful subscribers, I've been able to link the online Hawksong Weaving shop, so feel free to check out the unique hand-woven products. There's recently been a overhaul of how the shop is formatted, so things are a lot easier to find. This next bit is absolutely a joke, but just in case, in this economy, I won't say no. For $1,000 a month, you can tell me that I'm not actually disabled, I'm just lazy, and to try whatever yoga, juice cleanse, snake oil nonsense fixed your cousin. Feel free to message me, and I'll get you my payment deets. I take Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and check for this nonsense. If you have the money to spare and want to make a greater impact than just supporting me, please consider donating to the Mill River Marginalized Artists Collective. Mermac provides support, resources, and opportunities for marginalized artists by marginalized artists and our supporters in Western Massachusetts. Right now, Mermac is focusing on the Vending for You program, where Mermac applies to, advertises for, and attends art markets on behalf of other marginalized artists and ourselves, and getting a local pickup only online thrift store for art supplies up and running. I'll attach all of the links down below. One of the best ways to help outside of financial support is to follow and share everything Mermac posts in order to get our content past the algorithm suppression. Because our existence has been deemed quote-unquote political, and apps like Instagram aren't going to share our work as easily. I helped found this nonprofit, but had to step down from a managerial role as unfortunately, quite literally, my body is allergic to stress and adrenaline. Mermac was deliberately designed so that volunteers could take care of themselves first, which makes it a great place to volunteer, and I'll be continuing doing so, just not in a managerial position. But I have this reach, and I want to be able to share this message with the world. And if you want more information, please feel free to check out the Mermac website. Attaching the warp to the bottom apron bar is pretty easy. I finger comb it, get it separated into bits about 4 to 5 warp threads wide, separate these bits into 2, and then do a half hitch tie to the apron bar. If your fingers are hypermobile like mine are, please be careful when you're doing the tightening for this, because it can absolutely, there's my partner's hands, because it can absolutely overstretch your fingers in the wrong direction, and that is painful. I'm polyamorous, so that is the person who is known as Goth IT Engineer. She is an absolute marshmallow wrapped in scary goth clothing, and I adore her. There's also fencing, opera singing partner as well. And yes, we are aware of the French fencing opera singer, Marie I forget her last name. But unless you have new information about this person, yes, we are aware of the French opera singing, fencing, bisexual woman. We're aware. Marie d'Aubernier, that's her name. If you're not aware of her, please go look her up. She was a force to be reckoned with, and my partner absolutely follows in her fencing, opera singing, bisexual footsteps. For this project, I'm doing a very simple weave. I'm less worried about the selvages being even. For a felting project, it's much more important to get the fabric woven than it is to nitpick. This particular bit of weft is several strands of mohair and very thinly spun wool, and just being able to use it all together means that I will get a lovely variegated effect in the felted finished project. And it's just a great way to use up the bog of wonder that you can come across at thrift stores. All the oddballs of fiber projects, as long as they have a strong wool content, they'll do just fine, and you can make such unique colors and patterns. Not sure why I tried to say bog of wonder. I guess my swamp witch partners are rubbing off on me. Not literally, I am Ace. Something to keep in mind when weaving with thrift store or secondhand yarn is that it picks up odors. For me, the smell of very musty wool with a particular shade of red in my carpet in my vision is incredibly triggering for tragic anime #MeToo backstory reasons that I won't go into. So to help with that, I'll either light a scented candle, spray a nice scent, or keep a fan going in a direction that will help push the musty wool smell away from me while I work. I let my partners know that I'm working with a triggering smell and to move slowly around me for a bit. And I'll breathe through my mouth, both to help with the smell and to remind myself that there's nothing in my mouth and that I'm safe. And we're going to take a brief pause and enjoy some Hades himbo content. So this sweet dumb boy, yes, I'm talking about you, has started to wake me up by batting at my face, and if that does not get the response that he wants in a timely manner, he has started gently biting my elbows. And it is honestly very, very like that scene in The Lion King, where baby Simba is like, Dad, 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 come on, Dad, you said it was time to go, get up! And it's especially like that, because both my partner and I sleep in the living room, because it is hard to turn off the CPTSD when you're actively being hunted by the government. We're both trans, in case that wasn't obvious. But it's just like, your son is awake. Before sunrise, he's your son. And he is very much my son before sunrise. And he's gentle about the biting my elbows, but also, I get to sleep in sometimes, dude. He's my sweet dumb boy. And here is a closer look up at the number of skeins going into this particular weaving and watching me get it all sorted. Now that this weaving blank is done being woven, I tie off the end of the warp, trim the extra yarn, and that will be turned into tassels or added to the stuffing for the scrappy scented sachets, and then off to the bathroom to get the laundry going. I like to add my felted weaving blanks to a load of towels, usually the same terry cloth towels that I'm doing the weaving with. I set the machine to hot with 2 rinse cycles and let the heat, damp, and agitation do its thing to felt down the wool blank. I wish that humidity and agitation did the same thing to my joints, but unfortunately, heat and humidity just make my joints looser. Oh, collagen, you are a cruel, cruel mistress. Why did I end up having to have defective collagen? I'm really pleased with how these various bits of weaving and blanks ended up. Just, This is about a week and a half's worth of felted wool blanks, or about to be felted wool blanks. And see, notice the size, notice the width of this, and then when they're coming out, how much they've shrunk down, because it's going to be a significant startle. Borax and a little bit of Dawn dish soap, or, off-brand Dawn dish soap. It's essentially the same thing. And this really just helps it coalesce and, felt down even further. And it's just, all right, here we go. While those are doing their felting thing, I'm working on some counted cross stitch while watching a nature documentary. And Penelope is judging the washing machine most sincerely and has gone off to hunt it over in the left-hand corner. I'm very pleased with how this counted cross stitch is coming out. It's a stamped project, which makes it so much easier for someone like me who has dyscalculia. Our dryer is in the basement, and for physical disability reasons and background lore reasons, I don't like going down there by myself. And it was raining, and wool is heavy and damp, so I used my inside laundry drying rack to dry out the felt. Thankfully, damp wool doesn't have the same scent triggers as musty wool, but I still run the fan to help dissipate the odor for my partners and to help it dry. And here it is. This felt can be used for all sorts of projects. I'm likely going to be using the main bulk of this batch for a new line of trevets, coasters, but the leftover bits will be turned into applique accents, pins, barrettes, and ornaments. And there's just so much joy of taking these scraps from the different thrift store yarns and donated yarns and Swanson's yarns and making sure that these fibers aren't going to end up into the landfills. It's just absolutely delightful. And the fascination I have with the different wool contents and how it tightens in some areas and is looser in the others, it's just a wonderful science experiment, especially when you're working with fibers and you're learning how the different fibers interact. Thank you for coming along as I wove my own felt from different thrifted and secondhand yarns. I'm so glad for the odd turn that your path took that brought you here. Thank you for spending time with me at Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a bit warped, and I hope that you have a truly excellent week. May your week be as tightly woven and as sturdy as some of this wool. You can see how much it's shrunk down. Just holy crow, it's just so neat. Fibers are just neat. I'm sure neurotypical fiber artists exist, but I don't think I've met one, because this is just so freaking cool. And this is the piece that I was weaving in the intro, and just, oh right, I was doing an outro. Bye, hope you have a good week, and I will see you next time.